Thank you so much. And hi everyone. This is Meredith Wellard. I am the VP of Talent Acquisition, Learning and Growth with Deutsche Post DHL, based here in Bonn. I'm not German, I'm Australian, but I've been over here now for about 12 years, having what I think is the best job in the world, looking after learning at this massive organisation with over 600,000 employees across the globe. We have, since the last 4 or 5 years, had a strategy which really focuses on how do we transition to the digital world and still deliver excellence for our people, for our customers, for our shareholders, and still deliver on our purpose of being a company that connects people and improve lives. And so what I want to focus on in connection with our strategy is how we bring to life that strategy for each and every one of our employees in terms of the skills that they need to learn for the future and the current work that they do. Everyone knows how much the world is changing. Learning is no longer something that is an optional thing that people do on the side if they have spare time, if it's quiet in the business, while they're on the bus on the way home. We can't now in business expect that that's how people will consume learning. We have to acknowledge that in this day and age, if we want to keep the right people, if we want to have people really with the right skills and ready for the future, then we need to invest in learning as part of work. So when you invest in learning as part of work, it means that you need to make it very relevant to the different expectations of the employees. And all employees have a different perception of how learning works. Some people are really prioritized and focus on doing their job well. Some want to grow their careers. Some want to make sure, particularly if they're in the knowledge space, that they have the right skills and knowledge for the future, that they can lead the business. And some, it's just an important part of belonging to a company that you can develop your personal skills or other capabilities. And there are many, many other reasons why employees and team members would want to learn. The important thing is that with all those different expectations, we need to have a range of different solutions that meets the needs of all. And that's the journey that we've been on in Deutsche Post DHL. How do we ensure that every single person who comes to work, and this is a quote, I love horror. I love horror, it sounds terrible, but Dean Koontz is the author that I particularly enjoy reading. I love this quote from him, which is really about, everyone has a talent, ability or skill that they can mine, that they can use to support themselves and succeed in life. And I believe that for all of our employees, all the different employees that we have in all the different countries, each and every one of them has a talent, ability or skill, and we just need to find it and help them develop it. And that's our challenge as a business. So how do we do that? I think it's about really making sure that we create a learning environment that not only engages and enables the employees, but also drives value for the business. So it doesn't work if there's an imbalance between how the employees experience it and how the business feels it receives value from it. It has to be that both sides match. And the way that we do this is by having a clear strategy around what learning we offer our employees. And it starts with the opportunity for learning around who we are as a company. So we say it's about engagement and culture. And here we have our group certified programs. So these exist across all of our division. They're very nicely branded. They're a beautiful experience for our employees. There's lots of whole brain learning, lots of video, lots of networking and activity. And all employees through their onboarding and through their job development will experience these certified programs. Most of those programs are in the classroom, but some are also online. We also then have what we call our Learning for the Job I Do Today. So we give access to all of our employees through an app. So even those deskless employees who don't have a company provided laptop, for example, can access using their own device or using a shared device training and information, videos and podcasts and different learning experiences through what we call our Smart Connect app. We then have Learning for the Future of Work, and here we have an online portal that every employee has access to. We call it our career marketplace, but it provides people with all learning content online and access to enroll for classroom sessions, for coaching, for mentor, and that it allows them to grow a little every day. So everyone can have access to their own preferred learning content through the career marketplace. And also in that career marketplace, they get precision learning and job recommendations based on the skills they have for the future. So everyone can raise their hand, say, I'm really interested in having a career in the company. These are the skills I have today. This is what I'd like to learn. And then the system will provide them recommendations and suggestions for how they can further grow their career. And in the center of it all is this concept of, people need to love to learn. And when they love to learn is when the learner, the leader, and the environment all work together effectively to deliver great learning experiences. And that's what we're really focused on across Deutsche Post DHL. To take it a little bit further, specifically talking about content, it's nice to have the right systems and platforms. It's nice to have the right sort of strategy and intention, but you also have to have the right content. And I saw in the previous presentation some really nice examples of how you have to present content in different ways for different types of learners, give them enough information that they can make good decisions, and ensure that it's accessible to them when they want to use it, where they want to use it. So all of our content is mobile enabled, easy to access, and user focused. We have content for leaders that is really about what they need to develop as a leader in our business. They have a huge impact on large numbers of people, so it's important that they are the best leader that they can be. And they also need to know about content for their employees, for their team members, and where to find that to close skills gaps. We have people who are knowledge workers, that's what they trade in our business, their knowledge. So they have to have learning that can allow them to upskill their knowledge at any point in time. So providers like Coursera, for example, or Percipio that does tech and dev development, these providers are very important to knowledge workers. So making them available at all times is highly relevant. And of course, we have a huge number of our field and frontline workers who are out there, delivering mails, working in warehouses and sorting centres. And that group needs to, or wants to primarily focus on their job skills. They want to know they're safe and secure at work, that they have the right knowledge to do their jobs well now and for the future. And they have a strong preference for small bite-sized learning, for flexible learning solutions near the job. And therefore making that available to them in an easy to access way without making it complex or confusing is very, very important. And ensuring that their leaders know how to support them to access that learning is a key success factor. So if you take it down a layer deeper and you say, if it's all about this precision learning, then it's all about what skills do people need. So that becomes the sort of currency. And when people are prepared to share their data, that's the entry. So saying that I'm interested in receiving targeted precision learning solutions to my desktop, it means then that I have to consent. And we do this in a very compliant and well-managed way, that I consent. I say that my information can be shared to get these learning offers. And then We send learning offers direct to their desktop or their mobile phone or their shared device, saying what might they want to learn if they're interested in, for example, job skills, or if they have those career aspirations, or if they just want to learn because it makes them at work. And it is all about having clearly defined curriculums. That mobile first is super important, especially for the new generations coming through the workforce. Their expectations are that I will be able to consume learning via mobile. That there is this bring your own device app available. So when I don't want to use a company device, or I can't use a company device and I'm happy to use my own, that I can do that. And that I have a simple way of searching and keeping my profile up to date. Plus, the platform is built for me. It's not built for someone who has to do reporting or someone who has to, design something in the background. It's really built for me, the user. And therefore, it's interesting, it's multimodal, it has diverse content, but it gives recommendations to me that are very relevant. So I don't get lost in this big confusing world of different content, but I get the content that I need suggested directly to me. And if I want to link that to my career and growth, that's also okay. And finally, that I get those recommendations that let me also share with my social peers, that let me author if I want to, and share knowledge with people around me, that I can access it via multiple learning providers and in all languages, in our case, up to 41 languages. And that I can manage my expectations and my profile myself. So I think you see from this slide that for us, it's about shifting learning away from being, I am the learning expert, I tell you what you need to do, towards you as the employee, as the user. You are the one that is most knowledgeable about what you need and want. And with the help of your manager or supervisor, we will ensure that you have access to everything you need to be the best that you can be at work. And this is then consumed by, at the moment, we have around 270,000 learners on our platforms. Actually, every single employee in our organisation has access to the platforms. We're still gradually rolling out all of the content in all of the languages. So we expect to have really all of them on the platforms latest the end of next year. And I guess at the core of it, and just to wrap up my short, rather short little presentation there, I want to give you a chance to ask questions, that it actually is about learning, not being digital learning in our case, not being about learning on your phone or having something that you can look at on your computer. It's really about saying it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what your job is, or what you do. We need to bring the learning to you and make it interesting for you to consume. We need to pull from our employees, and that it's high to each one of you. So that's our approach at Deutsche Post DHL, and I'd love to open it up in case there's any questions.
So still we are waiting for maybe someone to make a call or to share your thoughts with us. Soccer, Aphrodite is here. Sorry, Aphrodite, please let us hear you.
Meredith, thank you first of all for being here, and congratulations for your very structured, I would say, approach. I have two questions for you. How are you assessing the training needs of your employees in order to know which learning content you will develop? And secondly, are you developing this content in-house, or are you cooperating with external experts?
Yeah, yeah.
And one third
Yeah,
question,
really.
now that I'm thinking about it, how are you teaching soft skills? For example, do you use experiential training? Thank you.
Yeah. That's all right. Okay, so there's some great questions in there. I think the first question was about how we determine the content that we want to drive, and there's actually 3 pillars to it. For us, the first one is that we offer broad, open content to everyone. So every single employee has access to content that allows them to choose what they would like to learn. So if someone really said, you know what, I want to learn how to make a presentation, a finance presentation, but they're in operations, that's okay. They can, if they have the time and if they're supported, or they can access that type of learning. So that's our broad, open learning, and most of that is online learning. So that's done through our learning management system. The second piece is that we have this very job-specific curriculums. So each of the learning experts in the divisions is responsible for determining what are the skills required for any relevant job in our business. And we have a skills definition of each of the sort of job types in our business. And their job, then the learning professional's job, is to curate the content that's relevant for those particular target audiences. And the tricky thing here is to make sure that it's always up to date, because the jobs are changing all the time. So therefore, we recommend through the skills models, new skills that are coming up in each of those job portfolios. And then they decide, okay, yes, that's highly relevant. Or it might be that the focus is on a new topic, such as at the moment, we have a very strong focus on safety. So all of the learning content at the moment has been updated with a strong focus on safety, so that is in place and ready to use. So at very high level, that's how we manage the relevance of the content. We do have a third pillar, which is under that, I mentioned that certified module, and that whole certified space is really around how I feel about my company, what our strategy is, what our culture is. And that changes much less frequently. So it's much more about engaging employees. And that's managed by a team called our certified team. And all large global initiatives, whether it's a project or like our Go Green project, for example, the certified organisation is responsible for developing the training that answers those big global initiatives. So that's on the content piece. I think the second question then was, well, the third question was about who deliver, like, so are we doing it internally or externally? So we do develop a lot internally. We have a global authoring tool, and we encourage local trainers and learning professionals and others who are sort of qualified to do it, to develop, to author content for our learning platforms. Even if they're not a learning professional, the tool supports them to do it in with a good pedagogical style, so they can't really get it wrong. It has a proper structure, a proper outline on size and everything, and they follow that, put their content in, and they author that. But we also, of course, purchase a lot from the outside. So I mentioned that we use Coursera, we use content anytime from Cornerstone. We use a company called Get Abstract that does micro and podcast type learnings. So we do have relationships. We use Skillsoft for all the content that is generic. So we do have providers who partner with us on specific topics where we don't believe it's cost effective for us to do it ourselves. So, and then your third question question was around where they access the learning, if I'm not wrong. And yes, we have a mixture of classroom and online. And it really depends on what makes sense for you in your workplace. Most of our employees really appreciate online because they can consume it anywhere at any time. However, when it comes to soft skills, that was what you specifically asked about, soft skills training, we do have some online versions and some virtual classrooms, but obviously there's a real value in bringing people together for advanced soft skills. So for the experience of interacting and engaging, we do a lot of that face-to-face. For the knowledge attainment and the awareness, we do more of that online. It's a blend. And of course, you know, we have people in every country in the world, and we can't always bring everyone together. So we make the most of what we can by doing things remotely. Yeah, I hope that answered your questions.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there's another question there.
From the meeting room, their hand. Questions for you.
Yes, yes. If the chairwoman give me the floor, voila. Thanks a lot, Aphrodite. Well, first of all, congratulations, Meredith. I am Antonino Scribellito from PostEurop HQ. Really very, very interesting and inspiring presentation. And we are a little bit privileged here because we can have a look about not all the CSR or the training, but also the other pillar of PostEurop. And you inspired a question for you that is also linked because last week I was in the UPU and there was a very interesting presentation from Deutsche Post, again, from your colleague, Felix Blanche, about sustainability and environment. And it was very interesting because he showed how also the operational process is the same everywhere in the world. And for me, this is amazing. This is an added value. He said DHL Kenya, it's not different in the procedure, in the operation from DHL Germany. But I see that this is a big challenge for you. And the question for me is this, because you mentioned in your presentation that learning, and I fully agree with you, is engagement and culture. But in the environment that is worldwide like yours, you have, of course, different culture without making, you know, a classification. But I take Italy, let's say, we have one culture that is basically different from Brazil or from Argentina. So how you challenge, this is a big challenge for you, how you are able to implement this great learning program in different contexts and different culture, because I think it's easier to do, let's say, in Greece or in Italy when you have one company that is homogeneous. But in your case, you are the best practice. You are the only one, I think, in the world. So my question is, which challenge you see in order to implement this learning program, not only in Germany, but with the large worldwide vision? And second, last question, how you attract the new generation to your company, because you can have an amazing learning program, but still we are a little bit, you know, sometimes old-fashioned perceived by the new generation. And we have a difficulty to recruit talent that you mentioned. I fully agree also with you and with the Dean Coates that everybody has a talent, but to be hunter heads for the new generation, it's really difficult. And this, you are an expert of HR, so I would like also to have an answer from you. Sorry if I was too long, but I tried to focus better my two questions. And thank you for your answer in advance.
Very good questions. And clearly you know the world of HR that we're facing at the moment, because I think those are two questions I hear quite frequently as I travel around. On the first one about our global standardization. So I think one of the things that's invaluable about Deutsche Post DHL is the fact that our product works best when we have standardization across the globe. So at the core of who we are, whether it's delivering parcels, whether it's managing supply chain, whether it's flying around the world or shipping, it only works when we have a globally standardized set of operational processes. Because that's at the core of our product, it's also at the core of our culture. And therefore, when it comes to learning, there is an understanding across the business that we are better when we share and are consistent and standardized in our learning platforms, in our learning content, in our learning storylines, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to anything that is process or standard or guideline, everyone agrees that it's more valuable when we are consistent. However, and it was a very clever question, because indeed we are an organisation that does have a global organisational culture and commitment, but in every country in the world we have such different employee cultures. And so what we try to do is say, let's take the things that are common to everyone, that are common to who we are as a company, our passion for customers, our commitment to each other, our belief in the world around us and sustainability and good corporate governance, our compliance, our there's a list of things that are really about who we are as a company. And then let's do learning programs that reinforce all of that good stuff that we are as a company. But, and here's where it gets very clever, whilst we provide the global positioning, the global content, the global messages, let the local teams deliver it and customize it appropriately in the local environment. So an obvious one is language. But it's not just language, is it? You also have to bring in local customer stories. You have to bring in local leadership approaches and local champions and things like this. You have to bring the voice of the local into the business. And anything facilitated is facilitated by our own managers. So we don't use external facilitators very often, very rarely. Mostly our own managers and our own leaders are delivering trainings if it's not online. Now, that is how we keep it consistent across the globe and how we build cultures within cultures. To your second question, it is also how we're able to attract the younger generations, because we have these wonderful stories about being, a company that cares, about having this diverse, very diverse workforce where we're accepting of all different types of people, all different cultures and creeds and builds and religions and also that we have learning that's available through all different technologies, that's small, that's large, that's face-to-face, that's networked, that's online, all different types. And that we partner with universities and employment groups. We have partnerships with lots of the different bodies in different countries, ministries, and people that put together programs to employ disadvantaged groups. We have one of our social pillars is called Go Teach, and we really invest in our environments around that sort of philosophy of Go Teach. So I think at the heart of us, we attract the external market by really marrying up who we are internally, so our employee value proposition, with how we position ourselves externally in our employer brand and in our relationships with external bodies. And it takes time and effort. It's not easy. It's super, super hard, but you have to be committed to doing it, and it does work. Yeah. I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks once more.
Right.
So, as I can
I think
see,
I took more time than I was meant to take, so I apologize for that. But
no, of course not. It was very interesting. It was actually the promoting of lifelong learning. Aphrodite would like to say something more. Aphrodite, please.
you're not taking more time. I have many questions for you. So it's really a pleasure to have you with us. In terms of organizational structure, do you have a central, let's say, training division, and then you develops the learning, the training strategy, and then you implement this with local teams?
Yes, more or less. The centralized training organization, which I'm responsible for, has two main pillars. One is that it has the enablement of the technology and the strategy, the global strategy. And I have another one which designs and develops learning content and so forth. But all of the delivery, all of the localization that happens through our community of learners and training professionals in each of the divisions. So our job in the centre, aside from making sure everything is available, is really managing that community and engaging them along a common set of objectives. So we spend a lot of time working with that community to make sure that the learning is consistent across the globe.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Okay. Anybody else? So Meredith, I was just trying to say that it was not time spending, but very much learn from your expose and for your presentation, and also to promoting lifelong learning, but not something that it is implemented, but something that is self-motivated and self-managed, which is a really benefit for all of the employees. So I think that definitely. Your story will be also shared with other operators and with other colleagues. And thank you once more for your presentation.